Hey everybody, it's Brian with Everything X-Carve. Today we're going to make space coasters. Star Wars coasters. Stay tuned. Welcome to part 2 of the space coaster carve. So the first part was the design. Not everybody likes to watch people doing a tutorial on a computer, so I thought I would do this as a 2-part series. So those of you that know how to do easel or just not interested in actually looking at the tutorial, I've done 2 videos. If you are interested, click on the iCard up above that you'll see post now. And that way you can go and watch that and then maybe come back here to help maybe further understand how to use everything in easel. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the steps, keep as much as this probably out of the camera for you, and then what we're going to do is we're going to measure the pallet board that I pulled, and then I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to plane it, and then I'm going to carve it. So this is my first time lapse. I've also got a time-lapse video that I've created that I'll also include in the link below. It's something that I didn't think it'd turn out as good as it did. I see a lot of people doing cameras and just doing still shots. I did 6 hours of video and condensed it into just under 13 minutes. If you're interested in what I'm doing, please give it a like and subscribe. It lets me know that you're interested in what I have to say and my experience of what I've had so far on the X-Carve. I am by no means an expert on the X-Carve, and as I do these videos, hopefully I will get a little bit better and help teach you how to do some different tricks that I didn't know. For instance, in this video, you will see later on a pause function in the X-Carve to where it will raise your bit out of the wood enough to pull your dust boot and do whatever you need to adjust the bit or whatever, and then hit play and bring it back down. It's a really cool function and feature that I've just done for my first time, and you'll see it in the video. So with that being said, let's get to the project. So the pallet board that I got, I've got it laid out on a table, so I've got a good work surface. I've got my square. I'm going to measure for my workpiece 18 inches. Take my speed square here, mark it off, and then take it to the miter saw to cut. And I'm going to do the same here on this side. The first thing we do before we do anything else is we make sure we've got our safety goggles, respirator, and yes, pink ear protection. Next thing I'm going to do, line it up, make sure that I've got this level, that it's not on an angle, make sure that my space is set to 0, and then line it up and carve, or cut. Okay, now that we've got these 2 cut, it's time to get our planer out and plane this down to the thickness we want so they're not as big. We're at 0.41 of an inch and we want to go down to 0.30 of an inch. So we've got a little bit of planing to do, so let's get on that. So now that we've measured where the dust boot needs to go, now we need to pull the dust boot so we can zero out our workpiece. So we'll move that back here. We will turn on our machine. Now we're going to move it to our 0 point. Now that I have my starting point set, I'm going to raise my Z-axis up so I can get my Z-probe in. That should be good. Okay, you want to plug it in here. Put your Z-probe down. Make sure you've got this clamp attached to the collet. Then hit your probe button. We've already confirmed the position. We have attached the clip to the collet. To make sure that we have electricity run through. We do. The touch plate is in place now. Then we're going to probe it. Okay, so we've got our starting point set. I've removed the Z-probe, setting this as my XY0. Now it's time to attach the dust chute. The next thing I do before turning on the spindle, I make sure my setting is all the way down to 1. And then I turn on my vacuum. And the reason why I turn on my vacuum is I don't want, since I'm on the same outlet, my carve shutting off before it even starts by having an electrical charge with the vacuum. So the vacuum's being turned on. And now we turn on the spindle. Say you need to stop your carve for any particular reason. There is a function on the X controller where you can push the pause button and it'll raise the Z-axis up out of the machine to where you can turn off your spindle, go do whatever you need to do. Once you're done, you can come back and you can hit that play function. I did this just once so I could see how it works, but two, so you guys could see what was being carved on the machine. So back to the carve. While the music's going, I thought I would give a little insight on the setting of the DeWalt 611 spindle to 1. If you have it any higher than that, you will tend to burn out your brushes. Those brushes you can get on Amazon. I was able to find a 4th pack for around $17. I would recommend getting a set of brushes as a backup. They do go out and you don't want to be left having to order them and wait a week or two unless you have Prime or something in order to start carving again. So my recommendation, get some brushes as well as 6.35 millimeter belts as a replacement. If you'd like to see the complete time lapse, I do have the link of the 13-minute video down below in the video description. Now that everything's cut out, we need to shellac the carve. And the reason why we do this is to avoid bleeding into the wood when you are spray painting or painting a different color.
This is a great method. Just make sure you have everything covered. It'll reduce the effort and time you're spending on sanding. After about an hour or so, you can take your piece outside to a well-ventilated area and spray paint whatever color you determine that you want the inside of the coaster to be. Once your spray paint dries, you can go ahead and put it on a surface and start sanding. I used a 60 grit disc and moved my way up to about 120 grits in this process. Now that we've sanded down our piece, we need to get rid of the tabs left from the carve. So the easiest way to do this is if you have a belt or disc sander, to take it to the belt and disc sander and just knock those tabs off. So as far as sanding and cutting, we're all done. Now it's time to finish the project, and we're going to do that by grabbing an old t-shirt instead of using the paintbrush, because we want to avoid the inside crevice there. It's really hard to get that out. We're going to use the old classic oak wood stain, and that way we can make sure that we're wiping off any excess material at the same time. Once you have it coated to your likeness, you're going to repeat the process on each one of your coasters. Once your stain's dry, you're going to want to use a sealer. I use shellac. It is a great way to protect the wood from water or any other beverages that you might have on these drink coasters. Additionally, it provides a great shine to your workpiece. If you have any visible brush marks that you want removed, I would recommend a high grit sandpaper and a light sanding to remove those brush strokes.
I believe we are all dry. So now, already cut this cork board out. I got this at Michael's for $4. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do a very good job of making sure they were completely circle, but I think they'll do the trick. So now that the shellac's dry and we've got a good solid piece, all we have to do now is put some glue on. So once that's done, get a good positioning. Where you want it to go.
While you're doing this, you'll want to think about how you're going to get the glue to stick to that, whether it's something pressure or clamps. I decided to go with just straight pressure.
Okay, it's time for the unveil. Oh, that is heavy. So the first one we had a little bit over more than I would have liked, but they're for my personal use. They're not for anybody else, so. So the next thing we'll do is we'll need to clear up a little bit of this. And once that's cleared up, the project will be done. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a little razor blade, make sure that I go along it here. As you can see, once you do that, you're going to get a good pull, and you'll just want to do this and repeat the step with the remaining coasters. And that's it. Alright, so as you can see, still got a little bit of glue on these that we need to get off here and there. But
But for the most part, once everything's done, you get a nice looking biscuit like this, minus the incomplete circle that I made. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the outcome on my first set of coasters I've ever done, and I know that they're going to last. Thanks for watching. The space coasters are done. If you guys like watching as much as I like showing and building these, please consider subscribing, and stay tuned for the next episode.